students, and welcome back to the course of environmental studies for semester 2 syllabus. Today we are going to start the last module of environmental studies syllabus. The title of this module is Environmental Movements and Management. We will be discussing concept of environmental management, the significance of environmental management, environmental legislation in India, different acts and laws in India for environmental protection, environmental impact assessment, role of geospatial technology in environmental management, the concept of carbon trading and carbon bank, and in the last part of this module we will be discussing major environmental movements in Indian context. Today we are going to focus on the concept of environmental management and its importance, and environmental legislation with respect to India, and the process of environmental impact. Let us have a look at the learning objectives set for this module. By the end of this unit, we will be able to understand the environmental movements in India, comprehend the need and relevance of environmental management, explain the concept of ISO 14,000 and 16,000, carbon bank, carbon credits, environmental impact assessment, and ecological footprint. To understand the Environmental Protection Act and to know the concept and components of geospatial technology in application of it in environmental management. It is needless to say that economic progress of human being over a period of time, particularly after the Industrial Revolution, it has resulted into loss of environmental quality and also deterioration of natural resources at faster rate. However, there was a little focus on conservation of natural resources and also protecting the environment from degradation. It was for the first time, specifically in the last decade of 20th century, the focus of economic development has shifted a little from economic profitability to consideration of natural environment and conservation and preservation of the same for betterment of future generation. In order to conserve and preserve the natural environment along with the economic development, which is the need of day, we need to provide skilled manpower who can achieve sustainable economic development which will move forward in tune with the natural environment. And therefore, the manpower like managers and entrepreneurs who will respond to rapid changes taking place in the natural environment due to economic progress in a sustainable manner, in an eco-friendly manner, or in the judicial manner. Unless we develop qualities and skills among the manpower, the sustainable economic development and preservation of natural environment will remain a distant dream. Now, in order to reduce the severity of environmental problems and conservation of the natural environment, a new concept that has been evolved out of the need for environmental protection is environmental management. Through the concept of environmental management, it is expected that public awareness will be created out of various strategies under environmental management, and practical solutions and methods will be suggested for reducing environmental problems, reducing the intensity of environmental problems caused by various economic sectors, particularly manufacturing activities of the economy. And therefore, the concept of environmental management not only include the awareness part, but also various technologies, various methods, and various legal aspects are involved in the concept of environmental management. It needs to make clear at the outset that environmental management does not mean the management of environment, because it is not possible for human being, or it is beyond the ability of human being to control nature and to manage the nature, because a situation beyond a particular limit, human being cannot control nature, human being cannot manage nature. In fact, he is just to respond to the disastrous changes that is taking place in the natural environment, because destruction of natural resources and the quality of natural environment is reflected in form of various environmental problems and catastrophic events occurring very frequently with high intensity, which are most often, like for example, tsunami, earthquakes, cyclones, which are most often beyond the limit of control of human being. And therefore, environmental management is not the management of environment. Rather, it refers to the optimum utilization of limited resources available with us, and we have to use it judicially, optimally, so as to make them available for the future generation. And therefore, the major focus or emphasis of environmental management is on efficient allocation of resources protection and conservation of fundamental natural resources to a large extent. It is important to understand why environmental management is required, or what is the necessity of environmental management. In the present times, globally or the entire world is facing serious threats and damage to the natural environment caused by various economic activities like manufacturing industries, agricultural practices, mining, and over usage of resources to satisfy the need of increasing world population. And that has resulted into various environmental problems at different geographical scale, may it be global environmental problems, regional environmental problems, and also local environmental problems associated with a geographically limited area. Major environmental problems associated with economic activities and pollution resulted out of it include greenhouse effect, global warming, global climate change, acid rain, ozone layer depletion, atomic disasters, industrial disasters, and so on. And it is important to note that the entire world, irrespective to a region, to a society, to a culture of a region, the entire world is facing problems with these environmental problems, and therefore no human society is left apart from environmental problems here. And therefore none is free from these problems. Everyone on this planet is suffering from the environmental problems caused by various economic activities. It is a dire need for taking action in order to make the resources available for future generation, and also to ensure sustainable environment or healthy environment for generations to come. And then the aim of the environmental management is to satisfy basic human needs within the framework of possibilities and restrictions given posed by the environmental system. So we have to consider the limitations and restrictions posed by the environmental system, and we have to use and we have to satisfy the needs of the increasing population within that framework only. And therefore the environmental management is more concerned with the sustainable usage of natural resources. It has a broad conceptual background which particularly include the development and enhancement of quality, which can go hand in hand. Environmental management also evaluates the cost to the society and environment brought by various economic activities and unsustainable usage of natural resources. It also plans the sustainable use of resources or the practices which are important for sustainable resource utilization. It also suggests solutions to protect the natural environment in present times and also for future generation. It also provide a legal evaluation of administrative and technological solutions to various environmental problems. It also promotes the use, maintenance, and enhancement of resources at different level of consumption. Environmental management is also involved in planning resource utilization, management, and disposal of various resources. There are various dimensions of environmental management, as I told you. One of the very important dimension is legal aspects of environmental management, or laws and acts that are set for environmental protection and conservation. Besides that, we have use of technology for environmental protection, public awareness and public movements for environmental protection, various administrative frameworks that are set for environmental preservation and protection. So these are various dimensions of environmental management. We are going to look at the legislation point of view in Indian context here. Government of India, in order to provide attention on environmental problems, has established the Department of Environment in 1980, which in turn become Union Ministry of Environment and Forest in 1985, and MOEF and CC, that is Ministry of Environment and Forest and Climate Change in recent times, which is called as MOEFCC. And this particular ministry is expected to work as a nodal agency for implementation of environmental and forest policies and programs across the country. The primary concern of this ministry is in implementation of policies and programs for conservation of natural resources. It also work as a nodal agency for international programs like UNEP, United Nations Environmental Programs, South Asia Cooperative Environmental Programs, International Center for Integrated Mountain Development, United Nations Conference on Environment and Development, and so on. As far as the environmental legislation in India is concerned, in the Constitution of India, Part 4, Article 48A, it is mentioned that protection and improvement of environment and safeguarding of forest and wildlife, and the state shall endeavor to protect and improve the environment and to safeguard the forest and wildlife of the country. So the protection of natural environment and forest resources is focused there. National Forest Policy, which was framed originally in 1952, revised in 1988. The Forest Conservation Act in 1998 was amended in 1980 was amended in 1988. According to this act, the state government has to take permission from central government for occupying the land under reserved forest and non-forest purpose. The EPA, that is Environmental Protection Act, is the act that provides the protection and improvement of environment and the prevention of hazards to human being, other living creatures, plants, and property. So it is considered to be more extensive, area under Environmental Protection Act 1986. Water Act for preservation of prevention and control of water pollution was passed in 1974. Is an act that empowers the state government to enact water pollution legislation. Water Prevention and Control Pollution Cess Act came in 1977, which facilitates the water boards at both central and state levels. The Air Act 1981 to control pollution of air and prevention the air pollution is the mandatory for the state pollution control boards in consult with the central pollution control board. So that is how it works. Hazardous waste management and handling rule came in 1989, and Wildlife Protection Act in 1972. So these are some of the important acts that are being enacted from time to time by Government of India in order to protect the natural environment. Environmental impact assessment is an important management tool for ensuring optimum use of natural resources for sustainable development. It is a formal process used to predict the environmental consequences of a development project. Environmental impact assessment is necessarily a legal procedure that is being followed by every industrialist or every project proponent who wish to establish his project in a particular area, or he wish to expand the existing or project uh, which is a development project merely. The term environmental is comprehensive, which consists not only natural environment but also the socio-economic and political environment, which is potentially being affected by the proposed project or industry in a particular area. The environmental impact assessment process evaluates the degree of environmental impact of the project, which can, based on which the projects can be categorized into three: category A, category B, and category 3 projects. Category C project. Category A projects are all those projects which have prominent adverse or negative environmental impact, uh, which require full environmental impact assessment procedure to follow. Whereas category B are the projects with adverse environmental impact but less degree than the category A project, which also have to go through EIA process. But category C are the development projects which do not have any environmental impact. In this case, I mean in the case of category C, environmental impact assessment process is not necessary, is not mandatory, is not required. As far as environmental impact assessment in India is concerned, the process of EIA was introduced in India with the impact assessment of River Valley project initially in 1978-79. EIA has now been made mandatory under Environmental Protection Act 1986 for 29 categories of development activities involving investment of rupees 50 crore and above. The sectors which are identified for environmental impact assessment include mining projects, industrial projects, thermal power plants, river valley projects, multi-purpose projects, irrigation and hydroelectric projects, infrastructure development and miscellaneous projects, nuclear power projects, and so on. Now, let us try to understand the procedure of environmental impact assessment in a nutshell manner. The first phase of environmental impact assessment is that the project proponent is the person or a company which is expected to establish a new project or which is willing to expand the existing project will prepare a proposal. Now this proposal will be submitted to a committee which is called as Environmental Advisory Committee, EAC. Now there will be various members from various organizations in EAC who will be deciding whether this proposal should be sanctioned or not, includes local body representatives from local body, representatives from Central Pollution Control Board, representatives from State Pollution Control Board. Then some MLAs and MPs will also be there. Some representatives from Ministry of Environment and Forest and Climate Change will also be there. National Bureau of Soil Survey and Land Use Planning, Nagpur, some representatives will also be from there. Few will be scientists working in the various environmental projects, industrialists, and also legal advisors will form the committee called Environmental Appraisal Committee. Environmental Appraisal Committee is the committee responsible for sanctioning or rejecting the um, proposal which is given by project. Now, environmental impact assessment will evaluate the proposal in 6 particular stages, like project identification and proposal, the details of project and the identification of various aspects, mechanical aspects related to the project. Then project appraisal, project implementation, project monitoring, completion of report and evaluation. So all the details of an proposed projects, all the potential environmental impact of proposed projects, and what will be long-term environmental and socio-economic impact of that particular proposed project will be evaluated, and the report will be uh, prepared. After the report is prepared, EAC will hand over this report to the public opinion for public opinion. So there will be public hearings. There will be the notice will be published through local newspaper and regional newspapers, and then the responses will be getting from the public. If there is no response within 30 days of period, it is assumed that the proposed project is needs to be sanctioned. There is no problem with the particular project. So this is public opinion. After public opinion, if all the local people are accept the proposed project, then the final decision of sanctioning this particular project and clearance of environmental clearance of this particular project will be offered to the project proponent. But if there is any problem or if there are any lacunas in this particular proposal, then again it will be sent back to the project proponent, and project proponent has to make necessary changes in that and has to submit to the EAC again, and then again it will go through the entire evaluation process. So this is basically the procedural part of environmental impact assessment. Now, it includes the site selection wherever the project is proposed, the area around the project is proposed, then conduct environmental impact assessment, apply no objection certificate from various organization, SPCB arrange the public hearing, then application for environmental clearance will be sent by the project proponent, which will be reviewed by environmental appraisal committee. Changes will be suggested, and then the proposal is accepted either or it is rejected. So this is all the details of the environmental impact assessment. So that's how we have discussed that what is the environmental management, what are the necessities for environmental management or significance of environmental management. Then we have discussed the legal aspect of environmental management, environmental legislation in India, and in the later part we have discussed environmental impact assessment, need for it, its procedural part, and the various aspects related to environmental impact assessment in Indian context. So this is how we have completed the first part of this lecture. We will discuss rest. Till then, thank you very much. Have a nice time.